Don, how are
My
you?
guy, how you feeling?
Can't complain, man. How are things going on your end?
Things are going good, man. Just out and
Good.
about handling some business.
Nice, 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 nice. And where are you located right now?
I'm in LA.
Okay, cool. How are things out there?
They're not too bad, man. It's, trying to stay as cautious as possible.
Yep, yep, yeah. I'm in New York, so I definitely feel you on that.
Okay. How is
Nice.
it out there?
It's gotten better. It was definitely a lot uh, worse a couple of months ago. We're starting to open back up a bit, but still, still very limited in what we can do. So just trying to hang in there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
that's about all we can do, right?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely crazy times. uh,
Facts. For real.
it
I
seems
got
like
I
we have.
got my mask.
Listen, man. It's like one more thing that we have to make sure we have when we leave the house. It's like keys, wallet, phone, and mask now.
Facts.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. We seem to have a good amount of people in the house already, so definitely want to welcome you to another IG Live with the Quintessential Gentleman. My name is Aaron Campbell. I will be leading the conversation with Don today. We're so lucky to have him, so thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a lot of people know who you are. Definitely, from America's Next Top Model in 2013 to being in certain films and television shows, as well as being in the music industry. But you also have a book that just came out called
Yes,
My
sir.
Truth. So we
Yes,
want to
sir.
kind of touch on all of that. But for people who don't know you, can you take a second to kind of introduce yourself, talk about how you got started, kind of in the entertainment space, and what led you
Yeah.
to the book?
Well, I got my break on America's Next Top Model 2013 with Tyra Banks. And since then, well, before that, I was doing music. So the acting was happening before Top Model. And then that kind of gave me my platform to do everything that I wanted. I figured out how to tie everything into one. So, yeah, the past 7 years, I've just been going full steam with everything entertainment based pretty much. And so I have followers who know me from modeling. I got followers who know me from the music. I got some who know me from doing comedy skits on Instagram. I try
Yep.
to keep my hands in a lot of different things. So, um, a lot of different genres, I guess.
Nice, nice. And so, kind of on the modeling piece, you've done campaigns for Guess and for Tilly's and other brands. And with the Black Lives Matter movement happening right now and kind of actually being like a big focus, there's been a lot of talk about diversity and equity and inclusion within the fashion industry and also within the modeling industry. Doing some of those brands and working in the space, we've heard a lot of people coming out, models particularly saying, they've been discriminated against in the industry, but a lot of those people speaking out have been women. Wondering
Yeah.
what your experience was like, kind of or has been like as a man of color in the industry, what discrimination you might have faced, and do you feel like there's a difference in treatment between male models and women models when it comes to race?
Um, I mean, I definitely feel like there's a lot more opportunities for white models, white actors and actresses. It's like there's always a limited number for black actors and models, unfortunately. And I think they've been trying to do better. I feel like there's been more and more opportunities slowly but surely, and we have to keep fighting for those. But yeah, like of course we don't get the same opportunities as a lot of the white models, and sometimes you see them like how many top paid white models and actors are there in the world compared to black actors and models.
Right, right.
So we just got to keep fighting our way, and that's really all we can do. Like I was one of the first models to ever like have tattoos. I just had to break that door down.
Yep,
So we just kind of have to keep breaking through those barriers and setting the standards.
yep.
That's really I think it all comes down to. But yeah, I mean I've definitely seen my share of discrimination. I've seen people get hated on. I've seen jobs go to people who I felt like they should have went to some other people instead and they did not. So it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate that it has to be like that.
Yep. Well, you talked a little bit about in your answer your truth, and the name of your book is My Truth. So, can you give the listeners and the people who've tuned in kind of an overview of kind of what the book is about? Obviously, your truth, but kind of what the perspective that you brought to telling your story, and kind of what we
Yeah.
can, what we can take away from it.
Yeah, so my book, My Truth, it's like my truth, my life, you know, like I'm kind of just putting it all out on the table of mistakes I've made in my life and things that I watched my parents do wrong and their family and generations and you know following generational curses and waking up and realizing you got to break it, but it usually takes us going through a pretty detrimental time in our life to realize that we don't just wake up and life is good and then we're like, you know what, I need to change some things. It's usually like you hit rock bottom in a certain situation and you got to reevaluate your life and what you've been doing that hasn't been the best, you know, the best things. And so I'm by an airport.
No
But
worries.
yeah, so for me, like writing this book, you know, I kind of experienced some things in my life to where I was like, I knew I wasn't really living right, but I was kind of stuck in this pattern, you know. And I woke up after a breakup that I was supposed to get married this year, and the relationship ended, and I had to reevaluate my life and the things I was doing, and step up and be a man and go seek help and talk to some people that have got themselves on the right path. And I wanted to put that knowledge into paper for other people, you know, that may follow me and they may only see me as a model or they see me as an actor or musician, and I want to be able to give them and shine light on knowledge that I went to seek to make myself a better person in hopes that other people can either become a better version of themselves or avoid finding themselves in any hardships, you know. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And so you talked, you hinted about, writing about your parents and your upbringing. Can you talk a little bit about your upbringing and kind of growing up with your parents? I know there were some interesting dynamics there, and kind of how you
Yeah.
think that played into some of the decisions that you made, kind of as you got
Hmm.
older.
Yeah, well, growing up, my mother pretty much raised me on her own. We moved from the south side of Chicago to Minneapolis when I was about 5, and then my mother and father split up. My father pretty much dealt with a drug addiction my entire life, so he would be around when he could, but he was fighting that addiction, and so, you know, I think me not really growing up with a father figure and really hungry for that attention, and as a kid not really understanding like why could you just leave us, you know, like I didn't understand, I didn't comprehend it. So for me it was like, did I do something wrong? Like, do I need
Right.
to work harder to get you to want to hang out with me, to be around me? And then you know those characteristics carry on into your adulthood, and like because you were so used to seeking attention as a kid, as you grow up you start to have to seek attention and approval from people subconsciously. And so my childhood was, you know, it was like me looking for male role models in my life. Was it my homeboys that I was growing up with? Was it cousins or other family members? Like, you know, and a lot of my boys that I grew up with, it was the same situation. Like they didn't have their fathers in their life, and we were kind of all just feeding off each other's energy, you know, like who's gonna set the example for us. And so, you know, it's like you get to a certain age in your life and you start doing things. And thank God, like I didn't follow my dad's footsteps of drug addiction, you know, but there's still negative characteristics that I carried into my life that, you know, ended up hurting other people. And I had to just sit back and like think like, is this like I don't want to do the same shit my dad did. You know, I don't want to
Right.
do those same things. So I need to straighten it up before it's too late. And so I'm 33 this year, and you know, I feel like our 30s is like our best time to really like figure out um, where the rest of our life is going to go. You know, it's like
Yep.
the 30s is like when we buckle down and get it together.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is like my transitional point in my life, and my book is kind of really like letting everybody tag along with me. You know, in a deeper form, I guess.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm 31, so I definitely understand kind of wanting to get things together after learning the lessons of your 20s. So you talked a bit about not having a father growing up, or at least not one that was present in the way that you needed him to be, and then also kind of a breakup that you went through. So how do you think that not having a male role model consistently in your life played into how you interacted with women in a romantic sense, or even in a platonic sense?
Um, I mean, I'm like a very loving person. I'm a very caring person. But you know, I think the thing that we follow most of the time is like egos and pride, and you know, like we're taught as boys where it's like be tough, be strong, and you know, you're a player, so how many girlfriends do you got? And like, are you standing out? Are you drawing the attention? You know, like, it's like the things that they cast on us as men, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that, but we don't really learn those things a lot of times, you know? And so for me, it's like, I'm thankful that I was able to kind of understand that now. And I tell people all the time, it's like when we're doing stuff, regardless of what it is, if you're stealing, if you're killing, you're cheating, like whatever you're doing, like when you're doing it, you know it's not right. You know you're not supposed to be doing it. And the
Right.
question is, it's like, well, then why did you do it? Why do you do that? And you know the consequences are going to be bad. And so it's like, that's what I wanted to go seek that information, because like my father passed away from an overdose. So he
Oh, wow.
obviously never got the hint. Like
Hmm.
he knew, like he would always call me after and be like, man, I'm messed up. Like I need to pull it together. I need to stop. And he would go back to it. And so it's like, why do we know something is bad and not the right decision to make, but we always do it? And
Yep.
there's very few people that actually go seek that information to figure it out and stop, you know?
Yep.
Um, so I think that's really all it comes down to, man, is like really like getting a better understanding for life and reading and things that I did. Like nobody around me read books. Nobody around me talked to life coaches or
Right.
mentors or their pastor. You know what I'm saying? Like these are
Yep.
all things that I had to kind of like step out of my inner circle or my comfort zone and go do new things. And it's things that I'm encouraging other people to do. You know, like I have a large following and I feel responsible to spread positivity and spread like smart decisions, rather let people feed off of the bad things that I've done in my life, which ain't a lot, but it's like let my people see my flaws and my struggles so that they can learn and not do the same thing, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
a lot of people, we have followings, and you know it's like, let me just sell you a product, let me post this cute picture, but it's like, why not spread some knowledge in the meantime as well, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
help people grow.
Yep. And what, so you mentioned, your dad kind of, not being able to recover from addiction, which is a disease.
Hmm.
What was the turning point for you where you said, okay, I need to kind of redirect what I'm doing? Like what happened, or what were a series
Yeah.
of events that happened to make you that it clicked for you?
Well, when he passed away 3 years ago, like I kind of really started looking at life differently, but I still was kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'd still be in the club, partying, whatever, but it wasn't sitting on my spirit right, you know. Like we always question ourselves, but then like there, like it was started to get heavier on my heart. And then, man, when I had my breakup this year, like I kind of really just was like, I envisioned my whole life going different. And then once I split up, and like it was like, okay, I can keep doing the same things, I can go down this path, or I can really like wisen up. So really like the top of this year, between the breakup, COVID, being forced to sit still and be with my own thoughts and my own mind, and just like God was really working this year heavily, you know what I'm saying? And so I didn't ignore it this time. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna submit. Like let me just sit down and just take the lessons I'm getting and really like grow from it.
Yep. And so, what's that process look like for you? Has that been therapy? Has that been some other type of rehabilitation? What does that look like?
Yeah, man. Look, I have like a whole chapter about it in my book of like everything that I did. But like I literally talked to a therapist. I talked to my pastor. I got a life coach that I talk to weekly. Shit, I read. I'm on like my 23rd book this year that I've
Nice.
read. Between relationship books, power of the mind books, financial growth books. Um, Cutting off a lot of people in my life, you know, that are not good influences. Uh, you know, just literally like starting from ground zero. Like literally, I sat down and wrote a checklist of everything that I needed to do to like really become the best version of myself and what it consists of. And you know, it's a lot of seeking self-help, seeking help from other people that have gone through the same things,
Yeah.
and reading a lot of books, man, getting a lot of, filling my brain with a lot of new information and knowledge has really helped me a lot.
Yeah. So it sounds like you definitely have accepted kind of the things that you needed to do to become a better person, and there's some therapy and some mental health work that has been a
Hmm.
part of that journey. But we know, particularly now, I mean, with what's going on with Kanye, you know, us being in this COVID situation, all the racial unrest, there's a lot of struggle happening within the Black community, particularly when it comes to mental health
Yeah.
issues. And we know that Black people, Black men particularly, have, or in particular, excuse me, have a very complicated relationship
Yeah.
with mental health discussions and getting that type of help. So what do you think is kind of behind that, and how would you kind of talk to your friends or someone that you know and kind of help them work through those complicated
Yeah.
feelings they might have about going out and seeking help?
Yeah, it's weird how it's such like a stigma in the Black community, right? Like talking up like therapists or counselors, like it's almost like frowned upon. Like everybody I know, it's like, oh, I don't need that. Like I'm good. But you know, I've been trying to like tell my friends, like I just wanted to take a different route. You know, like go out of what you're comfortable with and do something where you're uncomfortable, because we're uncomfortable being vulnerable and talking to somebody that we don't know and telling them like our deepest issues or our fears or whatever, you know? So I don't know what it is about like it's we feel less strong, you know, when we do it, or like it makes us feel less of a man. But like you feel once you actually do it, I've been telling my boys and like other people that I talk to, it's like once you actually go and talk to somebody and get that off your chest, all these things that you've been bottling up, like you feel so relieved and you feel so like it's new, like a new feeling, you know,
Yeah,
and it's somebody that can actually relate because this is what they do. So I really encourage people, man, to do it, because mental health is a serious thing. Like depression, anxiety, like a lot of people when they're going through it, they feel alone and they feel like, oh, my life is about to come to an end. But you could be standing next to somebody and they're dealing with the same anxieties and depression as you are,
right,
and you don't even realize it. So for you to go seek help and talk to a professional is so important, man, because it's like it helps wake you up and helps look at your perspective differently.
right. Absolutely, I completely agree. I'm in therapy myself, and with everything going on, it's definitely been a great outlet. Um, but sometimes there are things that we're dealing with. I too was raised in a single parent household. My father passed away when I was 9, so most of my life I was
I'm
raised by a
sorry.
single parent. Oh no, thank you. But I can relate to that. What advice, if you have there's a single mother who for whatever reason is in a situation where she is raising a boy on her own or a young man on her own, what advice would you give her that maybe you wish your mom had done differently? And then as a follow-up to that question, what advice would you give to young men who are being raised in single parent households? How would you advise them on, kind of dealing with some of the voids that may happen by not having a male figure present consistently?
My bad, yo, my bad. This truck is backing up.
Oh,
Can
no
you hear that
worries.
truck backing up?
Look,
Is
that's
it
the thing
loud?
about COVID. Like
I missed the second half of that question. My bad. What was it?
I was gonna say, what advice would you? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
What advice would you give to young men who, for no fault of their own, are raised in situations without a consistent male figure? How would you advise them on figuring out how to fill some of those voids in productive ways, in constructive ways, that may not necessarily be there because they don't have a father figure in the household to kind of help show them what to do?
I think, man, I think research, I think reading, um, counseling, seek a mentor, uh, like really step outside of your inner circle. I think is key. Like look outside of your inner circle. Look to somebody who like has like successful people that may have like taken a route that you want to take. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like go the internet. I tell people all the time, the internet is your best friend. Like you can literally Google life coaches or mentors, or you know, you can Google anything and it'll give you a list of the top 10 or 15 people in your area that you can go reach out to.
yeah,
And I think that that's like really important. And I think that that's like the number one thing that a lot of young men can do and should do
yeah.
is go seek a, a life coach or a mentor.
Yeah. And do you think there are things that, again, as a product of that and kind of seeing kind of things that you may have needed growing up, are there suggestions maybe that you talk about in the book or things that you realize that maybe your family could have done differently to kind of, or that you would have liked them to do differently to kind of help fill that void?
Yeah. Yeah, I talk about that in my book as well, like breaking generational curses, Um, you know how like our parents, they teach us things that they were taught, and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the things that we're taught or that we witness aren't healthy, and so it's unfortunate because it's like as a teenager, you know what I'm saying, or your early 20s, you're not thinking about breaking these things because you don't know any better. Like you
Yep.
think that that's normal. So a lot
Yep.
of times we don't realize that these things aren't normal or healthy until we get into a later age, you
Yep.
know? So that's why like I felt like it's detrimental for me to put it in words in a book that can hopefully reach the masses, because I talk about that as well, like breaking generational curses, sitting back and assessing like you're like what are you being taught, what are you witnessing, you know what I'm saying, because it's like I said, we know what's good and what's not. Oh shit, big ass
You all
wasp,
right?
yo, I'm out here in the trenches, bro. You see that wasp? I'm in the
You all
trenches.
right?
We're on live. Nothing's edited, but
Listen.
but yeah, honestly, like it's very like I wish I could go back and tell my younger self like, yo, assess the situation. There's a lot of things that you can break right now that are going to help you in the future that I didn't know better. So I really try to spread that word to the younger generation.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what would be the three things, the three pieces of advice that you would give to your younger self, the person maybe in your late teens or early 20s?
Read more, read more books, um, seek a mentor, um, and know that you are good enough, that you don't need to seek approval or attention.
Yeah. What do you want the readers to take away from the book? And do you think that men and women will, do you want, is your intention for men and women to receive things differently from the book? Or do you think that men and women will take away different pieces from the book? Or do you think it will be pretty applicable across the genders?
Um, I have like a journaling segment after each chapter so that you can kind of go through and kind of look at your own self and kind of compare to the chapter and see what you can take away from it. But as far as like men and women, I kind of wanted it to be like an eye opener for the men and like understanding for the women, like a insight into most men. You know, I don't want to put cast it on every man because every man, like everybody has their own struggles and issues. But for the most part, a lot of men, one of the main things that we have to overcome is temptation, right? Like, and what I'm learning is a lot of women have to deal with that. I've been getting a lot of responses from my women followers, and they're like, "Yo, like you wouldn't know it, but we have to overcome a lot of temptation issues as well." Um, so yeah, I think like really just men like being able to step back and like really look at yourself and be vulnerable with yourself is key for the
Yeah.
men, and then for women to be able to sit back and assess a man differently, so that they can approach the relationship a little bit differently when talking to their man,
Yeah.
or going into a new relationship and being like, okay, these are things that I want to make sure I tackle in the beginning so that it doesn't get out of hand later on in the relationship.
Yeah. 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 Are there any pieces of relationship advice you would give yourself previous, like pre-work?
Man, man, yeah, a lot. Don't get into a relationship until you're really ready and really have worked on yourself. I think that's the biggest part of getting into a relationship is make sure you're on point with yourself first.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's real. I mean, I think that's the one thing that all of us, man, woman, however you identify, can take away. So I want to give you a chance to tell the viewers where they can pick up the book, all the details around it, how they can
Yeah,
support.
the book is on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, iBook, I think all the other book platforms as well. But yeah, make sure you get it. It's My Truth. It's on Amazon. I'm gonna have some more signed copies up on my website later this week. I sold out earlier this week, so
Nice.
I'll have some more signed copies that I'm gonna be sending out on my personal website. It's donbenjamin.com. But yeah, grab the copy, grab a book for yourself, for a friend. Like so many people go use a word in this book. So I really suggest you go grab this book. The holidays are coming up. Grab an early gift for your loved ones.
Awesome. And for everyone watching, if you leave a comment when this is posted to QG's IG's to our page, If you leave a comment, follow QG and follow follow Don Benjamin's page at Don Benjamin on Instagram. You will be eligible to pick up a free copy of the